Hurts.
Hi, can you hear me in the mic?
We can, thank you.
So I'm Pat Kurtz. I live at 810 Lossing Avenue. I've lived in Colonial Beach for 3 years. So I moved here during COVID, so I've really lived here a year and a half. But anyway, I wanted to get involved with the planning commission just from the perspective of being involved in the community. And there are a lot of things happening in Colonial Beach, and it seems like this role is really about trying to set frameworks in place, whether you call them ordinances or policy or procedures, you know, such that we're kind of one step ahead of the ongoing development. And I realize, you know, there are a lot of balls in the air, so we're doing that at the same time that things are also being developed, but that's not uncommon in a changing environment. And it seems like an area where personally I could, you know, bring something to the table in terms of trying to vet things and trying to make sure that we do address all opinions, and hopefully we come up with objective results as far as that goes. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay.
I just had one question. Do you have any experience with like zoning, future land use, major site plans, anything along those lines?
I do not specifically. I did sit on our HOA board in on Leesville Lake, which was well, it was an HOA. It had some interesting challenges because it was kind of new, like we were starting with woods everywhere. That kind of thing, but not specifically.
Thank you.
Okay, same two questions. About your willingness to vote regardless of how the folks around you have voted, and how you recover from potentially being the only one voted the way you did.
So hopefully the beauty of the board is it's an odd number, and so there's a tiebreaker, right? So you can have your own opinion, even if you are the outlier. And I would also hope that we are in a position where people can bring up differences in opinion, and if we can't resolve them, we at least agree to disagree. And you know, okay, if it doesn't go my way, well, it's majority rules. I mean, that's life. So.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Schaefer.
My name is Adam Schaefer. I work for the town of Colonial Beach. I have a different aspect of everything because I kind of get the people's opinion directly, just because everybody comes through my office. I've been here for 20 years. I've worked for the town for going on 19. I've kind of done everything you can possibly think of through the finance office, so I've seen everything you guys do. I just seemed like a good time to be able to help make some changes in Colonial Beach to further our wonderful little town.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, same two questions in reference the vote.
I've proven myself pretty well over the years where I will state my opinion, but I will go along with whatever everyone thinks is the best move. I don't really get stuck on my opinion. My opinion is just my opinion, but it's more of what is the best for the overall picture. That's really it.
Okay,
I kind of try to focus on what's best for everybody.
gotcha. Okay,
That's it.
awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Have our other two folks been able to get connected?
It looks like Miss Brown is still not connected, but Will Hutchinson is here.
Okay. Mr. Hutchinson, can you hear me? Hutchins?
Yeah.
Hutchins? Mr. Hutchins?
Maybe.
We're gonna ask him about you, see if he can hear.
Mr. Hutchins, Chair, Mr. Hutchins texted me and said that he's just got on. So you should be expecting him momentarily.
Okay. Thank you. Do that a few more moments.
Which is booting them on.
Okay,
May not agree with us this evening.
yeah, so, so Mr. Dooley, if you could provide contact information to the individual commission members if they feel the need to reach out for the same type of get to know you question.
I'm sorry, Chair Mack, I missed the first part of your statement.
If you could provide contact information to the commission members, if they feel the need to reach out to the applicants to ask them the same questions to get the speech.
Certainly.
Thank you. And then we'll go ahead and move on.
Yes.
Thank you very much for coming this evening, everybody that's
Yes.
interested in serving on a planning position.
Thank you very much. Welcome to how it goes sometimes. We try to keep it as smooth as possible, but you know, it's like the river. You never know when the chop's gonna kick up. That being said, we are gonna move on to old business, which is the subdivision ordinance amendments. Tonight we were to discuss these and then schedule a public hearing on these. I don't know how in-depth we need to get on discussing these without our other two folks to be able to provide input. But if you have anything offhand that you would like to add for now.
Ms. Odom, can you shed some light on, I know we had talked about last time coming up with a clean copy and then having the other red line. And then it looks like a line by line of revisions in the packet here. Is there anything else notable for Mr. Dooley since you're listening in?
Chair, I'm sorry, I'm getting some background noise. Let me take care of it. What I did hear is that I heard something about about having a clean copy of the draft ordinance that was provided as attachment number 3 in your agenda. There are 3 separate versions. The first version is the comprehensive version of all changes that have been made to date. The second version is the changes that the town attorney had suggested and staff's responses to the town attorney's comments. And then the third version is the clean document with all of the changes accepted as they are as they've been worked out with the town attorney and accepting all the changes that were made that the Planning Commission has already seen.
I'm also seeing an attachment number 4.
So number one is the staff brief,
Right,
so it's actually the third
attend.
revision is attachment 4.
Okay, so number 4 is a clean version.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's correct.
Gotcha. Just a moment.
Chair Mack, this is, we moved on to the next item, but in fairness to Mr. Hutchins, he texted me and he's telling me he's tried several times, but it appears he could not be heard, but he is still on.
Okay,
So I don't know if we can do anything to facilitate his attendance here and come back to him. I just wanted to give him every opportunity, and of course, the commission to interview him tonight.
give me just a second. I may have a word here.
Julie, if you could text him and inform him that he has muted himself, if he can unmute himself, that might help.
He should be able to hear that. I will remind him.
Is he still muted?
Are you asking? Mr. Chairman, are you saying it's okay for him to speak now?
If he's,
Okay.
I mean, if he's available, I'd rather him go ahead and be able to do that now if he can.
Yeah, just send him the text to try to unmute himself. Hopefully that'll resolve the problem.
There is also another option, since he has your phone number. We could try the triple Lindy of digital communication, and he could call you, you could put it on speaker and hold it where we totally hear it.
Yes, we can try to do that. Mr. Hutchins, if you, let's see, let me,
His cell phone, I think it's a *6 to unmute. If that helps.
Okay, I don't know if you heard that, but if he's dialed in to the
Looks like.
To the Zoom. on his cell phone, which it looks like *6 apparently is another way to unmute through that, we're being told.
he says, I've tried that also. I'm not sure what he's referencing.
He may be talking about the *6. Yeah, we're not having a technically great day today.
Here, did it go off?
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, it's all.
He is unmuted.
Tell him to speak.
Finally.
There
There we
it is.
go.
Okay. Mr. Hutchins, please, while you are connected, if you would give us your intro, and I'm assuming you heard the 2 questions about the vote process, if you could go over that as well, please.
Okay. Yeah, my name is William Hutchins. I've been a resident of the town for nearly 15 years now. I've recently decided to get involved with the town and what is going on with the town, and try to lend whatever expertise I can to the process.
Okay, So I had a question for the others in reference to being willing to vote your conscience, if you will, regardless of how the rest of the commission may have voted. And if you are on the unsuccessful side of a vote, how would you go about continuing to work with the rest of the commission?
Well, I think it has to be a collaborative effort, and whatever the decision has been made, then you know, it would be my job to support that and continue to work towards whatever that may be.
Okay. Any questions from either of those?
Just, Mr. Hutchins, can you elaborate on any experience or background that you have on planning or serving on boards or zoning?
Yeah, in my I'm retired at this point, but in my career, I just recently retired from General Electric, and I spent many years as the head of the planning and materials department at one of the generating stations in Southern Maryland. We did 3-year, 5-year, 10-year planning, and that's what I was in charge of at the time. So I've had a lot of planning experience.
Thank you.
That was gonna be my question, so I don't have any.
Okay, well, Mr. Hutchins, thank you very much, and thank you for being persistent with working through the technical issues. Fortunately, those finally panned out. We look forward to hearing from you again in the future, and again, we will have the closed session at the next Planning Commission meeting in May, and our decision will be made then, and that will go to the town council for their approval.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your consideration.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for applying.
Was Ms. Brown able to connect, or she was not? Okay.
Chair, are you aware that Ms. Brown indicated in the email earlier today that she had an emergency conference that she had to, or excuse me, an emergency phone call or meeting that she had to participate in, and did not think she was going to be available tonight? I did offer her the online connection or to call in as well, so it's possible we might see her later. But at this point, I'm not aware of her intimate arrival in the meeting.
Okay, no, I was not aware of that email, but thank you very much. That's definitely helpful. I know she did try to connect earlier, but again, that it wasn't panning out at the time. So hopefully either she will get connected or what she's doing will be done and she'll be able to walk in the door. You never know.
Yes.
Okay, so moving on to the zoning amendment and setting a potential public hearing. Do we have any discussion about this one?
Not particularly. It's a lot of wholesale revisions and edits by different parties, and understanding and justification, and there's a lot of digestion as far as like discussion amongst ourselves. We've pretty well hashed a lot of that stuff out already, and this is just the implementation and our direction going back to staff.
I agree.
It's legal review.
And I really like this summary.
Yeah.
This is excellent. Having this all split out this way to summarize the points per section without having to individually dig through the pages as they are and seeing the explanations for the revisions in this summary. I think that's exceedingly helpful.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, I'd say overall, I'm pretty good at this one. It looks like it's just general updates, stuff that needs revised, clearing up some definitions, and you guys as staff, you know what you mean, you know what you need, so, yeah.
Okay, that being said, do we have a motion to set a public hearing?
I'll make a
Do we,
motion.
do we need a motion for setting a public hearing?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Second,
all approved?
I,
Aye.
We're setting that public hearing for the meeting in May, correct?
Correct.
yeah, May
Thank
11th.
you. Thank you. We will bring it back then.
Thank you.
So, I guess on that note as well, making sure, I don't know administratively how we need to do that, make sure. Ms. Oliver gets copies of this so it can be published on the website, because this is
Extensive,
some good bedtime reading here.
no matter what time of day it is.
Yeah, but just making sure that it's published for public consumption on the town website as soon as possible.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, for the rest of these. So under new business, we have. Development of a short-term rental ordinance. I know we have a timeline that's been set for us on this. What was that timeline?
Approximately 60 days, sir. The planning commission at the last meeting, pardon me, the town council at the last meeting asked that the commission to consider a short-term rental ordinance draft that staff had put together through using the Essex County ordinance for short-term rental to consider creating a registry and a supplemental ordinance to accommodate a shared to develop a shared rental ordinance to base it on. The commission, I'm sorry, I keep saying referring to the council that way. The town council also asked that a committee be formed for the benefit of the planning commission that would consist of maybe a couple members of the planning commission and a couple members of the economic development commission from the Chamber of Commerce, specifically with experience with owning or operating or managing short-term rentals, so that there was knowledgeable feedback and information that could be used in helping the commission develop an ordinance for the council's consideration. Staff, subsequent to the council's direction, staff formulated a draft subdivision, excuse me, a draft short-term rental ordinance and registration materials for a short-term rental for the Planning Commission's consideration, based largely on the Essex County registration and ordinance. What staff's request is that the commission tonight take a look at the basic structure of the draft ordinance as we have it, but to also take action to form a committee under your bylaws and to establish that committee that can work out the recommendations and the details of the proposed ordinance to bring back to the commission in May with their recommendations of any changes, additions, or modifications, and then the full body can participate in a broader discussion based on those recommendations. That being said, the commission would at that point be asked to schedule a public hearing to make a recommendation to the town council, or it may ask the commission or the subcommittee to further deliberate on it and bring back as an agenda item to the commission, but that would likely be done as a special meeting. The town council's desire was to bring it back in 60 days, so that puts us into June to accomplish that. I think that we can accomplish this consideration of the short-term rental ordinance and not impact the planning commission's work schedule. I would also ask the commission to amend the work schedule to include this as part of the second and third quarter so that I can modify the work schedule for the planning commission so that the commission has that on record as being one of their formal items that they're addressing. So at this time, I would ask that the commission, if you have any comments, that would be fantastic to take those in, to appoint a subcommittee. And then from that point on, the subcommittee can meet and be prepared to, again, provide comments to the commission at their May planning commission meeting.
Prior to setting a subcommittee, since we do have a representative from the economic development committee, do you already have anyone in mind who would be on this, or can you take it back?
We'll be able to have names probably by tomorrow. So our chairperson is in Ireland. So when I read this, I couldn't get a hold of him. I am on the committee and I managed 51 short-term rentals in Florida.
Okay,
And so I assume I'll be one of the members, and then we'll send it out to our subcommittee to get the second name. So
okay, if you could contact Mr. Dooley with that information, that would be perfect.
okay,
Thank you very
tomorrow.
much.
Thank you.
Any comment on subcommittee?
Not specifically about the formation of the subcommittee, but part of the purview of not just what the ordinance should say, potentially discussing overlay and where we should be implementing the STR, either inclusive or exclusive.
Okay.
And I might, Mr. Chairman, what you have before you in the drafts does not include ordinance amendments that would result in overlay districts as far as the location of short-term rentals. What we are proposing to you is based on, different research that I've done throughout my work, which resulted in what we feel like is a reasonable and still comprehensive ordinance in the draft based on that ordinance, which is in Essex County. But it does not include, it includes measures that are designed to help protect safety and welfare, compliance with other town codes like noise and those kinds of things would also come into play. But we have not proposed certain districts that would allow short-term rentals and others that don't. So there is not an overlay planned.
Okay. Now, I just want that to be part of the conversation, color and consideration, and whether or not we should include that as part of the recommendation. That's all. Not that there should be, but that it should be discussed.
Chair Mack, to add to Ms. Odom's comments, as it's currently drafted, and again, this is, we're just starting this conversation. Staff had added that short-term rent, this is under draft section 18-6B number 1, it basically states as in its draft form that short-term rentals may be operated in an existing legal residential dwelling unit in any zoning classification that permits residential dwellings subject to the provisions of this ordinance. So fundamentally, if you can have a residential dwelling unit in any particular zoning classification, it could potentially be a short-term rental. Now, again, this is just starting the discussion.
So to kind of reference what we had to reference previously, which attachment is that?
Draft CBSDR is number 1.
Yeah, it was in draft number 1.
Yeah, attachment is number 1.
And you said it was section what? 18?
18-6.
Yeah,
this is under this would be placed under miscellaneous in our zoning code, but it's under the draft article that you're looking at. The reference that I made is under 18-6B number 1.
Gotcha. Thank you.
It's attachment 1.
and this is to administratively simplify adoption so that we don't have to go
Zone by zone.
zone by zone.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Okay. And I will reach out to the other, unless one of you two is particularly chomping at the bit to be part of this subcommittee.
not
I will
particularly.
reach out to the other members of the committee. and
I
I'll
figured
get back
Ms.
to you.
Luna would have an interest
I
because
think she would have an interest,
it's
and that's why.
something that's been ongoing with her.
Right.
With when she collaborated with Mr. Ale previously, so.
Correct. So, and I will get back to you with who will be on that subcommittee. And then
Okay.
we'll make that public at the next meeting.
So do we need to make a motion to form the committee, not necessarily naming the individuals that will be?
Yes, sir. I would form the committee, and then I would say that, you know, the committee will begin action. The chairman will appoint those members because there's anticipated to be meetings before your next planning commission meeting.
And you're an ad hoc member of all committees.
Correct. So,
Does the, I'm sorry, Chair, I didn't mean to interrupt.
you're
I
gonna-
was, I couldn't quite hear or not, I wasn't quite sure. Was any of the existing commissioners that are there tonight being asked to be appointed to the committee or not?
I am an ad hoc member of all of our subcommittees, so that would be one. And we'll reach out to the other members. I believe Ms. Luna has a vested interest in
Yes.
this particular subject, so I will certainly reach out to her and give her the opportunity to be the second.
Okay, brilliant, thank you.
So do we have a motion to form the committee?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I. All right. The next item is the zoning map and text amendments ordinance.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is one of our next items on our work plan for quarter 2-3. And what staff has attempted to do with this was to augment the existing ordinance largely to include additional information to any sort of zoning map amendment that's proposed to help better understand the proposal, its impacts to the town, how it complies or is consistent or not consistent with our comprehensive plan. A large part of this has to do with including additional information and study assessments related to long-term impacts and short-term impacts that may result from things such as biological resources, on historic resources, on noise, on pollution, public infrastructure. Fundamentally, there's a lot of environmental factors that could potentially impact the town or the surrounding area with an increase with change in zoning. So we're trying to capture more information, like we're trying to do with the subdivision ordinance, to be able to better understand potential impacts of a project, so that the commission and the town is more informed about short-term and long-term impacts associated with the project. We've also included in other highlights, we've included specific findings under or modified the specific findings in the approval process under section 19-16 that requires that when determining whether to adopt a zoning map amendment, that the town council shall include, when anticipating environmental impacts associated with a zoning map amendment are deemed acceptable or de minimis in accomplishing one or more aspirations of the comprehensive plan. So again, we're trying to focus on those issues that could impact the town or the community, or be potentially inconsistent or consistent with the town's comprehensive plan. So that's fundamentally the spirit of what we're trying to accomplish with some of these changes that staff believes is necessary and appropriate to strengthen this particular ordinance. We've also made some other minor modifications, such as changing the title from planning director to community development director, which is the title that I hold for consistency between my title and the zoning code. So there's no potential inconsistency in who that person is. And I think that fundamentally covers broadly those changes that are being proposed. And of course, we're bringing this to the commission tonight to get your feedback on what we've drafted, to get a sense of, is this going in the direction that the commission wants it to go? Do you want to add something, delete things, so that we get better feedback? What staff's intent is to do is to take that feedback, redraft it as appropriate, and then pass it ultimately to the town attorney to get their feedback. And much like the zoning ordinance update, bring it back to the commission again with a redraft.
Okay, that being said, and with our limited amount of attendance this evening, how much trouble would it be for you to, for your office to provide a summary similar to the short term, is it the short term, or was it the
Subdivision ordinance? Not
Yes.
at all. There's no problem at all. We can do that.
If you can provide us with one of those summaries and email it out to the commission, so that we can have that to review that with this. I think it would be better if we could all provide our input at the next meeting.
Absolutely.
That way you guys could run from there, because I think we would probably benefit from the roundtable type of discussion that we might end up having because of it.
That's perfectly fine. I'm happy to do that.
All right, perfect.
Mr. Dooley or Ms. Odom, can you help me understand, so the zoning map, okay, so in parentheses rezoning, so this is essentially, if someone were to bring before likely the zoning appeals board a variance or a rezoning application, and then that's translated into the map, as it were, not necessarily this is a graphic representation of the town, but the zoning map as the listing of the individual use zones by the different properties.
So that is actually if a person files an application and they say, I want to change the zoning, my zoning district on my property, just say from R to C.
Okay.
And they would file an application, and that application would be reviewed, public hearings before the planning commission, recommendation to council, and then council public hearing and a council decision. So this sets up that application process and what a person would need to submit for their application to move forward to be considered. If at the end of all of that, council votes to approve the change, that would be a zoning map change, or in essence, rezoning the property. So it no longer would be colored yellow. It might be colored blue for commercial.
Yeah, I was just trying to like clarify that, because it's there seems to be a conflation in the way that the text reads, of course, because the heading, and it's a zoning map change, but it's an actual structural change in the way that the ownership and the zoning is recorded legally.
Yes.
I think the ordinance I'm good with. Just a quick question though, how many rezonings do you guys get like a year, would you say staff gets?
Or a decade.
Or a
Or a
decade?
decade, whichever is more.
Yeah, I mean, to peel that back a little bit.
I'm not aware of any most recently, so it's been some time, I think.
All right, I was just curious.
Yeah, we would, that's something that we can try to research. I'm not particularly aware of any specifically, and I'm relatively new, but it's something that we could certainly delve into if the commission's interested in that information.
You know, I think it's a reasonably helpful point. I don't think it's ultimately critical to this discussion in that I think we don't get them very often, but I think it's still a good data point to have.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
That's all I have.
Okay, so we will, if you can get that summary out to us, and then we'll bring this back up at the next meeting on May 11th.
My pleasure.
That's everything on the agenda. Any side notes or extras from?
I believe that concludes this for us this evening.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn? Before we do that, do you have anything else that you feel is important?
No, sir, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Dooley?
Nothing further to add at this point. I will let the commission know that we did receive a conditional use permit application for a temporary, for having temporary vending at the, in the town. We just received that application. We're currently reviewing it for completeness.
Okay, was that the site that was mentioned previously? Down by the beach? By the
That's
water?
correct. Yes.
Wonderful, thank you. That being said, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Aye. Adjourned at 6:44. Even.
Great. Thank you, Chair and Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Dooley.
Thank you, Mr. Dooley.
Thank you. Have a good evening.